I feel so honored that you're here on my telesummit. I'm so excited. So I'd like to introduce everyone who's listening. This is Janet Quinn, and she has been someone who I have been watching for many years and known about her work for many years. She's a trained spiritual director, and it's Amakara. Is that what it is?
An Anamkara, yeah, friend of the soul. Anamkara,
Yes.
friend of the soul.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So she's been doing this work, and she brings a deep spiritual she brings a deep spiritual perspective to working with people of all different faiths. And she's also a nurse who's an international speaker. She also is a consultant and a coach. And she has been working in nursing for many years. And her specialties have been spirituality and healing, holistic and integrative nursing, the art and science of nursing, and the way of the healer. And she's also a fellow in the American Academy of Nursing, and she was named the Holistic Nurse of the Year by the American Holistic Nurse Association. And she is well published in many books. And when I really knew of your work was when you did your work with Therapeutic Touch, because I was very interested in that work at the same time. So when you were really active in that, I was very much a fan and very excited about that work. And I've seen, as you've evolved in your work, that you've actually gotten deeper and deeper and deeper in the spiritual dimension of healing. So the telesummit it's called Conscious Visionary Nurses on the Edge of Evolution. And you're definitely one of the conscious and most visionary nurses that I know. And I'm really honored to hear your vision of what the future is for nurses, based on your life experience and based on the work that you're doing now, and how we can expand ourselves as human beings, and also where we can go even in this present moment, but as we walk into the future. So I'm so honored to hear. So I'd love for you to share with me your ideas, your visions, and your perspectives.
Well, it's, we're sitting in the midst of an absolutely unprecedented time, right?
Right.
And so, as you know, when you first asked me to do this, I couldn't even speak at that time. That was a month ago. And I said, I can't even do this. It feels premature, at least in my process from where I was. Because my initial experiences, despite all of my years of training, all of my years of practice, meditation, healing, was profoundly disorienting. I had just lost my little dog, who was my companion for many, many years. And so I was deep in grief, having just lost her. And then this whole pandemic arrived at our doorstep right as that was happening. So my own journey was really to really back into the dark night in a certain way, although it was not technically a dark night of the soul, but it was profound grief, and the grief of the world. Really, those two together, it's like when we experience one grief, it stirs all of the griefs we've ever had. And in this instance, I feel that the world itself was in such profound grief. And my grief for my colleagues, I was shattered by the notion that our colleagues were on the front line of this really devastating disease process without the proper equipment, the personal protective equipment. And so that absolutely shattered my heart, which had already been shattered. And so my first kind of response to all of that was to do as much as I could to support nurses. And from an activist point of view, who do I need to call? What do I need to say to Congress? How many letters do I need to write? What can I post that can make sure that people are aware of this?
Right.
So, that's where I was a month ago.
Yeah.
Um, and now, what can I say now? Looking forward, I say we're looking into the unknown. There is no way that we can know what comes next. There's
Right.
no way we can know what healthcare looks like coming out of this. From my point of view, which is what you're asking about, right?
Right.
So
Of
from my
course.
point of view, um, we are really facing the unknown, and for many of us, that's a horrifying thought. We don't like the unknown. We don't like not knowing. We don't like not having a plan. We don't like not knowing what our next step is. But you know what? That's the entire crux of the whole spiritual journey. The
That is.
moment that we actually think we know, oh, I know now. Oh, I know where we're going. Oh, I know what I'm called to. Oh, this is it. Oh, this is who I am. Oh, this is what I was born to do. It's the moment that we lock ourselves into those kinds of statements, as energizing as they can feel, is the moment that we close out all the other possibilities. So we say, I'm going to be F, and we then eliminate A through what is E, and then from F forward. You see,
Yeah.
so as we stand, really talk about the edge of evolution, standing right in the center of the unknown, and as a profession that's at the center of the unknown, right?
Right.
Nurses on the front line. We have to reclaim that capacity to sit in the mystery. It's essential. It's not rhetoric. It's not anymore a nice idea. Oh yes, we love the mystery. Meanwhile, tell me the plan. It's like, no, this is the real deal. This is
I
what
love
we've
the
been
mystery.
working
Meanwhile,
for.
tell me what the plan is. I
Yeah,
like
okay,
that.
great. No, you're right. I love the mystery. I'm a fan of the mystery. I believe in the mystery, but really, what's the plan? That's kind of how we play along with it when it's rhetoric, when
Right.
it's a nice story, when we like the language, peace, love, mystery. You know, what can go wrong, right? But right now, where we are, I feel, is we're being asked, invited, really command performance. Do we believe that or don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Do we believe that we walk as partners with mystery
Mm-hmm.
in the work of healing, or don't we? I mean, there's no more time. We're out of time for interesting ideas. What do we really believe? And if we really believe that, what does it look like in our personal life, in our work, in our relationships on the planet, right? That's where we are.
Right.
Um, and it's really disorienting for most of us. You know, it's like when we really get that, like, wow, mystery means like mystery.
Exactly.
you know, um, that's a challenge.
It is a
And
challenge. And
so,
you're a
you know,
spiritual director. So how do you work with people as you take them to the edge of the mystery where they're just about go into that? What is that? What is that? How's that guidance? Because that's what we're
well,
guiding us. We're looking for the spiritual guidance for the future
that's
that
right.
is unknown.
That's right. That's right. And so the very first thing that we have to learn to do is to get quiet.
Mm.
So it's the opposite of what we think. It's like, we got to get going. We got to get doing. We got there, look at, there's a crisis. We've got to do something. That's part of what's been so difficult about all this. I mean, think about it. What we've been asked to do is to do nothing. What we've been asked to do is stay home,
Right.
go into retreat, go into retreat, be still. And we're like out of our minds. People are crazy because they're being asked to be still right now. I am not downplaying
Right.
the significant price of that for people. I am in no way trying to be glib about that or about the difficulty. The point I'm making is simply the biggest thing we've been asked to do is to do nothing. And our minds just have such a hard time with that. So from a spiritual direction point of view, the first thing I do with people is help them get quiet,
Mm-hmm.
help them come back to feeling a sense of being at home here in the cave of the heart is one way to think about it. Can you
Oh, that's
come
beautiful.
home to the cave of your own heart? The Sufis talk about the secret heart. And they even have language that goes beyond that, and they say the secret of the secret heart. In other words, the point being that there are dimensions of the self,
Yeah.
which are so profoundly secret that we don't know about them.
It's beautiful.
Anything that we think that we know about our own secret heart cannot be it, because it's a secret.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So how do you approach a secret? How do you approach something that's so delicate and so fine that it is more like the scent of a rose than the rose itself? So where it's more like what remains on the wind after the wind passed by. How do we open the senses to what's actually been visited upon us that we didn't notice with the outer senses, right? I mean, so it's, how do we do that? How do we develop that quality of attunement? And all the spiritual traditions tell us the same thing. Just get quiet. Just get quiet. Get quiet. Close the outer senses. Come to the interior senses. Anyway, I'm talking so much. I should
Beautiful.
stop the interview.
No, it's like moving into that silent, still point inside yourself. Mm-hmm. And reconnecting with the spiritual essence of who you truly are. And I love the way you describe it. It's the scent of the rose, not necessarily the rose itself. I think that's just incredibly beautiful and incredibly like alluring. It's like alluring into that mystery, into that unknown. What's going to take us there and what's going to lead us into that place inside of ourselves and into where we're going with ourselves and where we're going with our profession. Mm-hmm. So tell me more how you would help and guide us into that place inside of ourselves.
There's so many paths, right? There's no one path. Like your path is so beautiful, the arts. So anything that helps to awaken our curiosity, that's a great place to start, right? Yeah. Is with like just a question like, wow, like what is going on here? Like, wow, what might I discover? Wow, what is percolating? Wow, I have a whiff of something. What is that? I want to know. So the first thing is developing a curiosity about it and a willingness to explore it, right? And then sometimes it's just helpful to have some guidance into following the breath, the simple things that all of us do, but to do them with a real trust that if we surrender ourselves to it, that it will take us. What my experience with doing spiritual direction is the most astonishing. First of all, I feel as though, I've been preparing for this way we're working now for decades. I mean, I've been working at a distance. I've been working on the phone with people for decades. And when I first started that, I thought, this is never going to work. I need to be sitting with people. I mean, there's a connection, there's a relationship, and you really need to be together. But people were saying, please just, I can't, I don't live there and I want to do spiritual direction with you. Okay, let me try it. I did it as an experiment. Mm-hmm. And as any of you who work remotely have come to realize, time and space are irrelevant. And what I say every session of spiritual direction when I start, let's pay attention to the heart. Let's come into an awareness of presence in the heart. We can do this with each other now. Let's feel the capacity of the heart to extend itself in space and time. Mm-hmm. We're physically separated, but in the realm of the heart, in the cave of the heart, there's no separation. There's no space, there's no time, there's no distance. Right. There's only the one. There's only one. And so the thing that I try to help people with in spiritual direction is simply to come home to that place. And it's here. It's not like we have to go anywhere else. It's not like we have to do 20 years of yoga in the woods, by ourselves.
Right, exactly.
Heart is here. And it's available. And so it's a matter of just turning our awareness and simply noticing what we notice. And then trusting that out of that attention, and particularly when we're sitting doing spiritual direction, there's
Right.
two. So what we trust is in the field of the heart, where
Right.
two hearts have come and allowed the presence of the one, guidance will arise from there, just spontaneously.
That's beautiful.
Out of the silence, out of the shared heart, guidance will arise. And that is what I've come to absolutely trust. In fact, in some ways, it's the only thing that I trust.
Yeah.
Anything that my mind can tell me about what's next, what I should do, what the call is, anything that my mind grabs a hold of and goes out that way, I can watch it and say, okay, that's interesting, write it down.
Right.
But guidance arises out of this still place that's been opened, where the ego is not at play, where the mind has quieted down, where any notion of should or ought to or must or have to is quiet. It's not gone, because we're still here. It all comes back. But there are moments when real guidance can arise, and they often arise when there's two or more are gathered in my name.
That's what I wanted to ask you. It's a shared heart.
Yes.
And
the way that I often
that word, shared heart and guidance.
Yes.
Say again?
The way I often talk about it in spiritual direction is it's the two listening for the third. So it's like, here's the two of us, but that we both know there's something bigger.
Yes.
In which we sit together.
Yes.
That's the way to think about it. And so we come together, the two, to listen for that. And then the role of the spiritual director is to help reflect that, reflect what arises, what's seen, what's heard, so that the person can hear themselves. So the person can listen to their own. So the spiritual director, the spiritual companion, the spiritual guide, whatever the language, it doesn't matter, is not someone says, do A, B, C, do this, this, this. It's the one that can help the person hear their own truth.
That's beautiful, because I think that, now that I think about it, one of the ways we can create real deep guidance for the work of the future and the work of the moment is becoming conscious of that which you're speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's like, that's how you live in the mystery. You have this mystery, and you go into the space of the still point in your heart. You don't listen to your mind. You don't attach yourself. You just take note of it. But it's inside this shared, I love this cave of the heart. It's like the guidance comes through there. And with that guidance, we can have faith and trust that guidance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, I've come to trust that, because it's not coming from, and of course that's discernment also, isn't it? I mean, one of the things that we have to learn is how to discern the different voices. Saint Ignatius, who was an incredible spiritual director, really, I mean, an amazing psychologist way before his time, talked about the notion of the different spirits that could arise, and a good spirit and a bad spirit, in that kind of language. But it's very interesting. It's one of the first questions that comes up for us when we really start to try and listen, to the depth of our own being, is what voice am I hearing? Whose voice is that? Is that an authentic voice of the spirit, or is that some other voice? Is that the voice of a past hurt? Is it the voice of an egoic identity that I've built up for myself? Is it a voice of fear? It's like learning the tone of the different voices that exist within us is part of the process of attuning ourselves so that we can be an open field for the mystery to arise. It's and I'll tell you, I mean, how do you do that? Of course, it takes practice and guidance, but one of the ways that we can be sure, I feel, and again, it's just my experience, the more attached we are to a piece of guidance that arises, the more suspect it is.
Oh, really? That's fascinating.
Yeah.
The more attachment we are to a guidance that arises with us, the more suspicious we should be of it. or
Yes.
cautious of it?
Yes. Yes. The
Huh.
more that we should give it space to unfold, to watch it, to, the next question would be, who's speaking? Who something really wants this to be right. Who is that? Who's the
Something
one?
really wants this to be right, and who is that?
And who is that one? Because if we're really attached to, say, we think we've got guidance, oh, this is what I'm going to do, I'm doing
Right,
this, and
right.
we're attached to it,
Yeah,
um, that's the ego.
that's
Almost
ego.
100% of the time, that's going to be our identity. We're already starting to build an identity around going down that road.
Right.
So when guidance arises, when real guidance, when a movement of the heart arises, it's free. It moves without a big attachment. It's like, well, this is what's arising. I'm going to do this now. And then if somebody says, well, what if you can't do that? Well, then I'll do the next thing. I mean, we don't build a new identity around now this new thing we're going to do, and that's a tendency we have. We let go of one identity, and we say, oh, one door closes, another one opens. Well, that's right. So one door closes, we let go of that identity, but we immediately get about the business of building a new identity that we can then say, this is who I am. It's like we want so much to be able to be, this is it. Like I said earlier, I love the mystery, but tell me the plan. Oh, I love just letting unfold, but what am I going to do? It's like, it's all what look to be, dichotomies, that get resolved. All of those dichotomies get resolved in the open space of the one.
All those dichotomies get resolved in the open space of the one.
The one. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And what I'm hearing is, as we move forward, like what I heard you say, which was really interesting, is letting the mystery emerge, not getting reattached to the new reality, not make yourself attached and your ego and identify, but keep this open and have discernment. That's something I think is really interesting, being able to have discernment to figure out what voice is speaking in you and which one you can truly have faith and trust that this is what is emerging through a spiritual illumination, that your heart is illuminating itself. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think that where we get hung up is we say, well, but if okay, so I have a sense that this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my next
Right.
thing. But now you say, well, don't get attached to it. But I need to, if this is going to happen, I need to put some energy into it, so
Right.
it's like, that's the line we're trying to walk. And so we have to, that's right. What we need to do is we don't need to do anything,
But
but we
right.
can do. So it comes to us, oh, this is what I'm called to do. Then we do that 100%. You just do it. You say, okay,
Right.
this feels like guidance. I'm going to follow this and I'm going to do it. And then you go for it and you give it all of your love, all of your attention, all of your best, the best you can bring to it, you give it. And you're willing in a moment to let it go or to move in a different direction when different
Right.
guidance arises. That's the place. It's not a place to just, not do anything because, well, I can't be sure that's the thing to do, so do nothing. Well, you could choose that. And then, if that's what you chose, then you sit with that and you say, and how does that feel? So what happens in my being when I say, well, I'm just not going to do anything? What happens here? And so
Right.
we turn again back towards what's present, what arises, is that guidance to do nothing? Is that the right guidance now? Well, no, it's actually, you see what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's never ending. It's the willingness to let go of it, to not force it, be willing to give it everything it requires, but not to force it when it's not the thing that's
Right.
happening.
What's really
Yeah.
beautiful is
Make it
that
any sense.
that's perfect. I had this desire, I think one of the things of my favorite is I feel like when you have a desire and you move towards your desire, it's what the angels or the stars have waiting for you. So when you feel this desire to make something happen. It's as if, to me, that is guidance. It's got this feeling of I'm being guided because I have this desire for this. And it was really beautiful. I had this desire to do a telesummit, and I had a desire to, it just came out of nowhere, to start talking to people and interviewing people and asking, what do we need to do? How do we need to change? Do we need to change anything? What can we do? How do we wake up to the world and create the future? And it's been the most incredible experience because I feel like inside this experience, there's a guidance that's greater than me. You let go of yourself, despite the fact that my hair is always a mess. That's me. What can I do with my hair? And then I go, I can't worry about my hair. And but then you go, okay, there's something bigger than me that's happening here. And I should just have faith and let it guide me. And that's what I think, that to me is so beautiful, when we can let go of ourselves. That's the other thing I think about spiritual evolution. And I don't know, I'd love to hear your response to it. There was a day when I thought, I've done everything I think I've needed to do. I've got my PhD, I've done this, I've written this book, I've done that. Now I need to ask, what is not what Mary wants, not do I want, what does the world want from me? And I've been looking for that guidance. And then you ask yourself, how can I serve the world in a way that I can uniquely do that? And then walk into the unknown of not knowing what that means by doing something, I've never done before. And that is kind of, I guess, going into the unknown. What would you say? I mean, I don't know what to think about it. It's just like, and how do we move into this unknown? Like you were saying, put 100% into it and let it guide you.
Or when the guidance arises and you've kind of sat with it and you've checked it out and it feels like an authentic guidance that's moving you in a certain way, then you go with it like you're doing. I mean, you're doing it, girl. You're just going for it, and so you do it. So you go for it. And then if somehow, it doesn't unfold that way, or it goes in a different direction, or then you say, okay, well then it was what it was for then, and so now there's something else. I mean, it's that willingness to almost treat it as divine play. It's divine play, where it's not that we're not taking it seriously, but we're not taking that other phrase that people say, well, take your work seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously. It's like, well, this is what I think I'm called to do, and so I'm going to do this, and then if it doesn't happen, then I guess then I'm not called to do it anymore, or now I'm called to do something different. It's the lightness with which we hold on to these things, and that we don't build a story and an identity about it. That's really the most important thing. And that's a tricky one, because like I said, we like to have an identity, a sense of, well, who am I? Well, I am, and then we want to fill in the blank, what it is, all our different roles. But the truth is, in the end, in the very, very end, every one of those identities will have to go. Mm-hmm. We don't take any of our identities with us.
Right.
So as we go through life takes some of the identities from us, whether we wanted to give them up or not.
Exactly.
Right. So we lose those identities kicking and screaming, But the more that we can practice, the Sufis say, die before you die.
Die before you die.
Die before you die. And what they mean by that is find out what lives after this persona dies, and be that now. That's really what they're talking about, right? Really? Find the authentic self, which has nothing to do with any of your identities. Zero. So the idea of die before you die means find out the nature of truth, goodness, beauty now. You don't have to wait to lose your physical body to come to discover that and to live out of that place.
Wow.
So die before you die means put down all your stories about who you are, because you know what? The stories of who you are will never be big enough to hold what you really are. There's no identity that we can create with our mind and our culture and our society and our commerce and our
Exactly.
money and there's no identity that can be built out of all of that that remotely resembles the brilliance of the true identity of who you are, of who each of us is, which is a radiant manifestation of the unseen divine, right? This is our identity, right? The radiant unfolding of the divine itself. The Quran says, has God saying, I was a hidden treasure waiting to be known.
Oh,
So I made creation so that I could know, So to think about that, right? How's that as an identity? You're a hidden treasure waiting to be known, That's a pretty good idea.
You know what that means to me is in this moment, of being in the present, and as we look to tomorrow and the next day, it's a treasure. It's a treasure to be known. The future is the treasure to be known.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. It's like
Yeah.
we can feel with our heart that, when you talk about the interior, moving into the interior of your space and the spaciousness of that, and then moving through life, letting go of our identity, all of a sudden we're freed. We're just free to experience this unknowable, it's like we're going to experience the unknowable in the way in which we can know it. And however it is, it's a treasure, because life is incomprehensible anyway. Even when you think you have it all figured out, it truly is
especially when you think you've got it all figured out. Exactly. Yeah, I love that. When you were saying, you started at the beginning talking about this, to talk about that, this notion of being on the edge of evolution. It's like, well, right there is where the hidden treasure waiting to be known is making itself known, is right on that edge of unfolding evolution, right? So when we are willing to die before we die, when we're willing to surrender some idea of who we are and simply open ourselves to being part of that, we are part of the divine unfolding itself, in its next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, moment by moment by moment, revealing itself through us, as us, here,
as us.
now, not later, not some other time, but right here, like right now.
I could talk to you forever. I could talk to you forever. I love this. This has been so cool and so rich. And I have, it's just given me goosebumps, because I really have come to understand the work that we're doing right now is happening right now in this moment. And in the interview with you, I really feel the description of the two parts of us coming together, going into the cave of the heart, feeling the guidance that comes through us, and moving to the edge of evolution. And this divine manifestation is going to manifest. The mystery will manifest. And wow, I really thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and the depth of your generosity. Your generosity and your wisdom I appreciate it so much.
Well, I want to thank you, Mary, because, as I said, I was reluctant. I felt like I don't even, there's nothing to say. What can I say? And then, of course, we speak. I didn't have any idea that this was the kind of the direction we would go, that it would be such a very deep, really conversation of the heart.
Yeah.
That is what we had. And just kind of to bring it back to Nightingale, and here we are at this, we're celebrating this year of the nurse.
Right.
And Nightingale, it should not be forgotten, was a mystic. This place that we're talking about is a place that Nightingale knew. It's the place where she went to get her guidance, to this interiority. It's why she couldn't quite even find herself to be part of one particular religion, because she knew there's a truth that transcends all of those religions. And she was coming from there. And so when we start to turn in this way towards the mystery, towards our innate mystical, if we could say that, knowing, we're right in alignment with our founder, with Nightingale, who reminded us, nature alone cures, nature alone heals, and our job is to put the person in the best condition for nature to do that. Well, she saw nature as all of this, including us, including the heart, including the spirit, and that our job is, how do we create the conditions where the divine, where all of nature can show itself, can do the healing, can do the curing. And so I feel that as we go forward for nursing, coming back to the future, coming back to this, what Nightingale showed us, the way that she showed us,
right,
and the goal for nursing, which is to put people in the best condition. This is what we're going to need for this virus. We're saying we need a vaccine. Yes, it will be good, but what we need is strong immune systems. What we need is people whose immunity can fight this. And so that's another whole conversation. But
right.
Just wanted to make sure that we link back that a conversation such as this about the spirit and the notion of the divine unfolding itself was right in alignment with the founder of nursing. So
thank you so much. That's a perfect way to end. And thank you so much. And I will be back in touch with you. And I just want to say thank you so much for your wisdom and returning us right back to the beginning.
No, well, it was my pleasure. I had no idea this is what would be asked for by spirit.
Right.
Look what the divine, look what spirit, and look what the universe just did. Right. This is what
exactly. It's so great.
So I bow to that. I bow to the mystery that brought this to be. So thank you, Mary. Take very good care of yourself.
I will. Thank you, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.